The date was May 19th, 2021. Eberechi Eze was deep in a training session, his body moving through drills, his mind likely focused on the season's end. Unbeknownst to him, in an office not too far away, Gareth Southgate was finalising his squad for the upcoming European Championships. For Eze, a player with just a single top-flight season to his name, a call-up seemed like a distant dream, a hopeful possibility for the future. Yet as he finished the session, a buzz from his phone cut through the quiet of the locker room. It was an official notification from the Football Association. Against all reasonable odds, his name was on the list. He had made it. The euphoria of that moment, however, was about to be shattered by a twist of fate so cruel it defied belief. In the minutes following the news, with no tackle, no collision, not even a teammate near him, Eze felt a snap. His Achilles tendon had ruptured completely. The staff was thrown into panic. Teammates were in tears from the shock of the incident, all while still oblivious to the monumental high he had just experienced. It was on the physio's table, in the midst of this personal catastrophe, that Eze finally checked his phone and saw the confirmation of his call-up. It was a psychological blow that would take 4 years to recover from. The kind of setback that ends careers, but for Eberechi Eze, it was merely another chapter in a life built on overcoming rejection. This was not his first heartbreak. At the tender age of 13, Eze was told he was no longer needed by Arsenal's academy. This was his childhood club, the embodiment of his every dream, long before he ever had the chance to prove himself on their pitch. The release was a devastating blow. He would later confess to crying in his room for a solid week, his mother's comforting words failing to penetrate the deep sense of loss. An attempt at a fresh start at Fulham followed, and for a time, the joy of football returned. But in a cruel twist of fate, a friendly match was arranged against his former club. When the young Eze went to shake the hand of the Arsenal Academy manager, the emotions he thought he had buried came flooding back, and he broke down on the pitch. The wound was still raw. After 3 years at Fulham, a phone call during the Christmas break informed him he need not return after the holidays. A subsequent stint at Reading ended the same way. He felt stranded, a young talent with nowhere to go. A scholarship at Millwall offered a lifeline, but by this point, the constant rejection had taken its toll. At 18, playing with the reserves, he was told in no uncertain terms that he was not a Millwall player and would never succeed at their club. This had become a recurring theme. To the structured world of academy football, Eze was an enigma, a street footballer who treated their hallowed pitches like the concrete cages of South London. They saw a player who valued a clever nutmeg as highly as a simple goal. What they failed to understand was that those very cages had forged a unique and uncoachable talent. A player who was entirely capable of nutmegging any professional defender who dared stand in his way. Trials at Sunderland, ... Bristol City and Swansea came and went, adding to the growing list of rejections. The dream was fading. With no passion for his school studies, he found himself preparing for a part-time job at Tesco, a reality far removed from the Premier League lights he had envisioned. It was at this lowest point that his agent called with one final desperate trial at Queen's Park Rangers. He grabbed this last chance with a ferocious intensity, scoring 9 goals in his first 14 starts for the reserves. His talent was now impossible to ignore. Just 8 weeks after Ian Holloway took over as manager, Eze found himself not just on the squad list, but in the starting 11 for an FA Cup match against Blackburn Rovers. But the story was not done testing him. 15 minutes into the match, without any major contact, Eze began limping and was substituted injured. His next appearance on a pitch would be 8 months later, in the 4th Division. He had never truly been given a proper chance at QPR, when a scout from Wycombe Wanderers, watching him dominate at the U23 level, was astonished that the club was willing to let him leave on loan. Within 2 weeks, Eze was in a Wycombe kit, and immediately he was bending volleys into the top corner and combining effortlessly with players like Adebayo Akinfenwa. His impact was so immediate that by January, Ian Holloway was rushing to cancel the loan, promising to build the team's attack around Eze to save them from a relegation battle. Yet, the promise remained unfulfilled. Teammates like James Perch would watch him in training, baffled, wondering how a player of such sublime skill wasn't starting every single week. It took a new manager, Steve McClaren, to see what was so obvious. The moment he replaced Holloway, He handed Eze the number 10 jersey, a symbolic passing of the torch, and finally, the volleys and the dribbles were unleashed on the championship. By October, he was representing England's U20s, and rumours of a move to Tottenham Hotspur began to circulate. When asked about the difference between Holloway and McLaren, Eze struggled for a diplomatic answer until teammate Matt Ingram shouted the obvious truth. He's actually playing him for a start. However, the path was never linear. A period of poor form in the second half of the season, exacerbated by harsh criticism on social media, saw his confidence wane. When the transfer window opened, Tottenham, fresh from a Champions League final, backed out of the deal. The rejection stung, but a summer away from the game allowed him to reset. He started the next season with a breathtaking solo goal, and soon after sealed a win against Luton with a 30-yard screamer. Deployed in midfield, he excelled in every metric, finishing the season involved in a third of his team's goals, topping the charts for both goals and assists. He swept the club's Player of the Year awards, with Director of Football Les Ferdinand claiming he could become the best player he had ever worked with. Yet once again, Tottenham passed. Crystal Palace, however, did not. The South London club, over-reliant on Wilfried Zaha and in the midst of a dramatic squad rejuvenation, took a massive gamble. They made the Championship star, who had never played a minute in the Premier League, their third most expensive signing ever. After a brief period of adaptation from the bench, Eze announced himself with a stunning free kick. By January, he was weaving through entire defences to score a contender for goal of the season. So impressive that the manager of the Nigerian national team began calling him weekly. He was gliding past players, making the impossible look effortless. Then came the call-up, and then came the Achilles injury. Defying medical projections, he returned in 5 months instead of 7 or 8. But he returned to a different club. Patrick Vieira was now manager, and new stars had emerged. Michael Olise, another talent overlooked by bigger clubs, had arrived. Conor Gallagher had taken the league by storm. Eze, plagued by self-doubt, admitted he feared he would never regain his previous level. A whole season slipped by with only sparse minutes, and the next, even as he approached his mid-20s, he found himself in and out of the team. Vieira's decision to bench him coincided with a disastrous run of 13 games without a win, costing the manager his job. In came Roy Hodgson, emerging from retirement. His first and most crucial decision was to reinstate Eze to his natural advanced midfield role. The effect was instantaneous. Eze did not miss a single minute for the remainder of the season, spearheading a run of 10 games with only 2 defeats, contributing to 7 goals and somehow finishing as the club's top scorer. He had finally earned his way back into the England squad, closing the loop on the heartbreak from years prior. Most importantly, he and Michael Olise had quickly established themselves as one of the most feared partnerships in the league, a synergy that reached its peak after Zaha's departure. The 2023-2024 season revealed the sheer scale of their potential. Despite Eze and Olise being sidelined for a combined 143 days, when they did start together, a mere 9 matches, they were devastating. In those 9 games, they contributed to 27 goals and Palace took 21 points. Without them, the team looked lost, a relegation-level side. Had they maintained their fit duo points average, they would have finished in the top 3. In the final 6 games of the season, with both fully fit, they won all 6, defeating giants like Liverpool and Aston Villa. Eze was scoring bicycle kicks and dribbling past goalkeepers, with pundits claiming both he and Olise could walk into any team in the world. Then Bayern Munich took Olise and the spotlight fell squarely on Eze. Any doubts about his ability to carry the team alone were emphatically dismissed. If the previous season had shown potential, the next was a historic realization. After a solid but unspectacular start, a switch flipped. A month after a comeback from injury, Eze scored his first goal for England, becoming the first Crystal Palace player to do so in nearly 50 years. Days later, he glided past Fulham to score a sensational solo goal in the FA Cup quarter-finals. The floodgates opened. He assisted twice against Brighton, scored against Manchester City, and then embarked on a run of scoring in 5 consecutive games. The highlights were a volley against his former club Arsenal, a goal in the FA Cup semi-final, and the only goal in the final itself against Pep Guardiola's Manchester City. Crystal Palace, a club with no major trophies to its name, had won the FA Cup and qualified for Europe. Eze called it what dreams are made of. The dream continued into the next season with a Community Shield victory over Liverpool, a second major trophy in 3 months. And then finally, the call came from Tottenham. The deal was agreed, but after his 14-year journey, Eze needed closure. He made a direct call to Mikel Arteta at Arsenal, the club that had cast him out as a boy, needing to know if that door was truly closed. In a stunning turn of events, it was not. A transfer was hijacked, announced before Tottenham even knew it was happening. Days later, Eze was at the Emirates, muttering the lyrics to a Drake song. Let it all work out. And it did. His first league goal was a Goal of the Month contender. His second, third and fourth came in a single game against Tottenham. A perfect hat-trick in his first North London derby, the first in the fixture since 1978. At 27, the ultimate reject had come full circle, proving that sometimes you just have to let it all work out.